anything, but only God who makes things grow. The man who plants and the man who waters have one purpose, and each will be rewarded according to his own labor. For we are God's fellow workers. You are God's field and God's building. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Personally, there's so many things I love about the verses I just read. I feel like it was the kind of verse that, you read and it has a clear message, but there's so many ways you can interpret that message. I guess that's why it made it an easy pick for me to choose this verse. First thing that comes to mind when I read this verse is a garden, and I imagine or I picture a garden in my head. And to be more specific, I picture my own grandmother's garden. I remember growing up with my grandmother. She had a really big, beautiful garden, and she took care of it every day. She loved her garden, and she always watered her plants, straightened her flowers and stuff like that. I learned that she nurtured her garden, and something that I learned later on in life is that she was patient with her garden. Patience. I would have to say, next to a red Ferrari, that is probably the one thing I wish I had. I'm not a patient person. I don't think I'm the only one that can say that. I'll just leave that there. But going back to my grandmother's story, the idea that we can live life every day calmly as we wait for what God has in store for us is pretty amazing. In my example, my grandmother was waiting for her plants to grow and her flowers to blossom. But I guess my question to you all, Westminster Presbyterian, is what are you waiting for? Or what are you waiting on? Maybe it's that job that you've been attempting for a couple months to get employed. Or maybe it's some kind of result that you've been waiting for. Or maybe you've just been waiting for some guidance or a sign from God for the next chapter in your life. Regardless, whatever it is, I think we can all agree that having patience is a really hard thing when we want to know the answers now rather than later. And I guess we could all say that, we can say that Christians are patient. 2014 years since the Son of God, Jesus Christ, was put on this earth, and his word still lives today. That's a sign of patience, as we shall wait for the day he comes again. And I guess Presbyterians can be regarded as patient. So let me get this right. We have we nominate a nominating committee to nominate, and then we vote for the voting committee to vote, and then it goes on. But I guess it's still hard to have patience, especially in this day and age where we're so used to going on our smartphones or grabbing the computer and just typing in any kind of question and getting answers just like that. And I guess that's what makes it 10 times more difficult to just sit down and say, God, I am waiting. God, I'm waiting to get past this depression. God, I'm waiting to quit my bad habits. God, I'm waiting to get past this pain that people have inflicted on me. God, I'm waiting to have closure. God, I am waiting. God, I am waiting. Funny story is, time I was preparing this talk, I'd known for a while that I would be giving the sermon here at Youth Sunday, and I was getting ready to, as I was writing this down, I'd gotten this far, and I too, ironically, was waiting on God. I was waiting for some kind of sign, or, just motivation to know which direction to take this talk. And I, totally just, my mind was completely blank. So I sat there in my room for about a good 30 minutes, just daydreaming, I guess. And in the midst of that daydreaming, I found myself really fascinated by a basket that was full of clothes. And there was a bunch of things in that basket, like jackets, jeans, and clothes, or anything like that. And there was a particular shirt that really caught my attention in that basket. So I approached it, and here was this light blue shirt. And this shirt actually belonged to me, and I was like, oh, it's this shirt. And the shirt had a message on it, and it says, if you can read it, live with a bang. And, I was like, oh, live with abandon. To give you a little history behind this shirt, a few of the youth and I have been going to celebration, North Texas celebration. And we've been really involved in that camp for the past couple of years, and it's a youth retreat. And once I get started talking about it, I won't stop. So I'll just leave you with this thought for now. What can it possibly mean to live with abandon? Well, at that time, my question was answered. You know, when I asked God, I'm waiting, that was the sign that I was waiting for. I kind of got the message that, you know, what I should do is talk. And it was in that moment that I was reminded of something. The answers are always there to our questions. You know, the answers are always there to our questions. Sometimes we might not know it, but God is always trying to speak to us. And the truth is, as much as we would like to think that we're all ears 100% of the time when God is trying to speak to us, that's really not the case. We have a tendency of making God's call wait. We tend to make an excuse for not answering or responding to God right away. And I guess it's a good thing that we have a patient God, because it's the only way this ever works. One of my favorite stories in the Bible is the story of Samuel. And I'll just refresh your memory real quick. The story of Samuel is basically about Samuel, a young man that lived with his master. And one night, Samuel was going to bed, and as he was sleeping, he heard someone calling him. Samuel, Samuel. So Samuel got up. He walked to his master and he said, Master, you called for me. And his master said, No, Samuel, I did not call for you. You can go back to sleep. So a little confused, Samuel went back to sleep. And later on that night, he also heard that same calling. Samuel, Samuel. He got up again, went to his master, asked, Master, you called my name again. Both of them got a little confused, so the master told him again, Samuel, you could go back to sleep. I did not call for you. So Samuel went back to sleep, and the same thing happened several times, till about after a few times, I guess, the master told Samuel when he went to him again, he said, Samuel, when you hear your name being called, I want you to answer with this. Here I am, Lord. So Samuel said, okay, and he went back to sleep. And he heard his name being called this time loud and clear. Samuel, Samuel. And he answered, here I am, Lord. Here I am, Lord. If only it were that easy to hear God when he was calling us. The truth is, God might not be physically calling us in the middle of the night like he did with Samuel, but he is asking something from us. God is asking something from us. And the verse that I read early on from 1 Corinthians, it mentioned that we are God's field, God's fellow workers. We plant and water, and he makes it grow. Probably wondering how this comes to tying with the shirt and the story about my grandmother. Well, there's a little bit more to this shirt than just a message, live with abandon. There's a very special verse in the back, and it comes from 1 Peter 4:11, that's right. And 1 Peter 4:11 says, if anyone speaks, they should do so as one who speaks the very words of God. If anyone serves, they should do so with the strength God provides, so that in all things God may be praised through Jesus Christ. To him be the glory and the power, forever and ever. Amen. Now, that right there is what it meant to me to live with abandon. It means to be patient with God, to answer his call, and to serve with an open heart. And I'll just say that one more time. To live with abandon, to be patient with God, to answer his call, and to serve with an open heart. I was really excited this weekend when I was talking to David Rawhauser, and he told me that today's actually the 56th year since the first sermon was held here at Westminster, Presbyterian in Arlington. And I said, wow, 56 years. That's a really long time. And for as long as I've been attending this church, WPC does stand for living with abandon. I mean, the great things that we do with the local charities, Mission Arlington, the Arlington Shelter, the Soul Food Suppers, I mean, I could go on. And that's really what it means to live with abandon. For as long as I've been going here, that door has always been open to different kinds of people, no matter their background. And that's what I love about this church. And I guess on a personal note, it was more perfect that on Youth Sunday, I took this moment to thank this church for everything that they've done for our youth. Because they've really helped us grow into the people that we are right now, and they still support us a lot and help us grow. And I'd like to say a special thank you to David Rollhouse and Jill Western for their support and their love and care. They're like parent figures to all of us. I'd like to leave you guys with a little story before I go. I never knew how much a small act of kindness could mean till last summer at the celebration that I attended. I gave a talk about my past and what Jesus meant to me. And in that talk, I told a story about my first year in England. I moved to England with my sister, and we joined our mother there. And first couple of weeks were hard. Everybody looked and sounded different for me, so I was having a hard time fitting in. So the first couple of weeks of school, recess came, and we're all running outside. We're all excited for recess, and there was a pile of ice on the floor because it just snowed like it always does in England. And I slipped and I fell. And it really hurt. I remember it like it was yesterday. It really hurt. And I try to be as strong as I can so I could get up without crying or making a fool of myself. And out of nowhere, this kid whom I didn't even know came up to me and gave me his hand. And he said, "There you go, mate. I'll help you up." Helped me up just like that. I never became close friends with that kid. And to be honest, I can't even remember what his face looked like. But I do remember that day that he helped me. To him, it was the right thing to do, and it probably didn't mean as much to him as it does to me right now. But right there just showed me the love. That showed me that, there's God out there and He cares for you one way or another, and He tries to speak to us one way or another. That guy helping me up was a sign that, if I'm ever down, God will be there to pick me up. And that's why I wanted to share this message of living with abandon. Thank you. If you would please stand if you are able to join me in the affirmation of faith.